Hello, and welcome to a bonus edition of The Wizard Files, the special interview series where we usually go behind the scenes with the people who made Wizard Magazine and the comic book professionals who filled its pages. But this time around, we are celebrating a legacy and the birth of a new institution. This podcast wouldn't exist if Gareb Shamus, Pat McCallum, Doug Goldstein, and many others hadn't dared to publish the first issue of Wizard, the Guide to Comics 35 years ago, and built a publishing empire. It grew to heavily influence the comic book, toy, collectible card game industries all over the place. But this week, we are about to witness the launch of a new source of comic book news and entertainment that you can once again hold in your hands. That's right, arriving in the form of comics, the magazine. So we are very excited to have with us some members of the team that are bringing that publication to life. So allow me to introduce to you publisher Adam Freeman. Hi.
Hey, that's me. Awesome. Thank you so much, Adam. This is incredible.
Yeah, so glad to have you. And director of sales, Gabe Yocum. Gabe, how you doing?
Adam, thanks for having us, man. You gave me goosebumps with that build-up. That was fantastic.
Well, that's how excited I am, honestly. Since I heard about this project, the buzz has just been building in my brain. I'm just like, when do I get to hold it? When do I get to read it? But before we get into all of how it came to be, I got to say, congratulations, 100,000 copies of Comics the Magazine ordered by comic shops. How does it feel?
Boy, I will tell you, I'm going to speak for Gabe here for a second, because I think for Gabe, it felt like a fresh breeze hitting his chin for the first time. Because I don't know if you know this, but this man right here is the one who manifested 100,000 units. We do a podcast. We do a Comic Industry Insiders Live every Tuesday at 2:30 EST, or 2 o'clock EST. I don't know where that 2:30 came from. And Gabe on our New Year's show said, I am putting it out there. We're going to sell 100,000 units. And when we got off the line, I'm like, what are you talking about? You can't say that in public. And my favorite part of it, so in it, he's like, if we do, Adam is shaving his beard. And then he looks at me and he goes, oh, you know what? If we do, I'm shaving my beard. And so, Gabe, you can see the stubble if you're watching the video. You can see the stubble that's growing back. But he had to it was disconcerting seeing that man's face.
To say the least. It was the first time in a little over 12 years that I had shaved my face. Nobody that I've ever worked with in comics, not my wife, not my kid, no one has ever seen my face that in my life. And so it was a rough one. There's a reason that I have this beard, and it is almost entirely because of the incredibly weak chin that sits underneath it.
But man,
we can't all be blessed with that Adam Pope chin. Look at that thing.
That's right.
Wow, there we go.
Oh, God.
But this is the thing. I mean, I think there was just as much excitement in the air, across the board, because I certainly, I've seen a lot of promotion on social media and everywhere else, but I think just the concept is exciting enough. But can you guys explain to us Comics the Magazine? What is it? What is going to be found inside as we flip the pages? We're imagining it right now, but what is it?
I mean, we've talked about it a lot, but you can see this is Comics the Magazine #1. You can see it on the screen right there. And up top, it says the magazine you demanded. Because honestly, that is the simple story. The origin story is when you work in comics, when you work in marketing, one of the things that just kept coming up was, we need Wizard Magazine. Where's Wizard Magazine when you need it? And so you hear this after a while, and being someone who does a lot of things in comics, people kept saying, you should make it. And I kept saying, no. So what is it? It is an unabashed, unapologetic celebration of the greatest American art form. It is an unapologetic, unwavering celebration of the greatest American business, the comic book shop, right? It is the greatest comics magazines of greatness. I can't remember how we do that tagline, but it's good. It's a good one. I didn't write it, so I don't remember. But yeah, it's just that. It is a celebration of comics every month, first week of the month, except for #1. And it is going to be hopefully part of your lives as you love comics.
If Joe were here, he would say it is a celebration of enthusiasm for comic books.
Yes.
Right. Genuine enthusiasm for comic books. That's what, as you go through each issue, you're not going to find 0-star reviews. You're not going to find clickbaity, controversy inspiring articles and things like that. It's a celebration of the format of the comic book. And I think the first issue, I'm very biased, but I think we nailed it.
If you look at the first issue of Wizard, man, I feel like we just ran laps around that first issue of Wizard. I mean, I imagine where we're going to be by the time we get to where they were. In many ways, I think that we are, while Wizard is in our DNA, this is not like the new Wizard. A lot of people like to call us that. I always think of Wizard as the old Comics the Magazine, right? In the way that like Comics the Magazine is never about snark, right? It is never about putting down someone else in order to build yourself up. And I have to say, many issues of Wizard were. It is not about film and TV. There is no going to be casting. It's just about how much we love comics and how much you should love comics, and how this new generation that's going into comic shops now in droves, how they are going to learn what their next comic is. And as you and I were talking before we started about that like pivotal issue, that thing that you read that changed you forever. Hopefully, I think if we're doing this right, we might be the thing that introduces you to that if you are new to comics. And there's so many people who are new to comics right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it feels like you guys are definitely hitting it in the right moment. And especially, you showed us your cover subject. When Wizard launched, this was like one of the hottest books out there at the time, McFarlane's Spider-Man. And you guys have Absolute Batman on the cover. That's going to get so many eyes. How did that come about? I mean, it's an amazing cover.
So oh yeah. I listen to me. Gabe, I tell me to shut up when you want me to not jump in, but I will, because I'm excited. This is an exciting time. So this Absolute Batman cover, this is not just like, we didn't just take Absolute Batman and just paste it on our photo. We didn't get this specific issue, this specific art done. Instead, what we did is we took Nick Dragotta's art, gave it to Rico Renzi, who is an incredible designer. This guy's a superstar. And he took all of those different pieces. It is several different covers that he slashed together to make this thing. And God bless DC Comics, because they have been a dream to work with. And they gave us not only did they give us approval, but they worked with us to get those things. So yeah, it was so much fun to watch it come together. I can't even say I put it together. I'm just the guy who went, oh my God, look at that. Yeah,
Well, here's another guy who was helping you put it all together. Joe Keatinge, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Excellent.
Thank you for your patience.
No problem.
Crossed.
Glad you.
But
Joe
I was
actually
really looking forward to this
issue
one.
2, so he's a little bit busy this week.
Yeah, I was just looking at the PDF. It is sick. I guess I could say that publicly. The opening spread of the Battle Beast article is so damn cool. I don't know. I want to hype it up. Neither of these guys have seen it yet, so I'm very excited.
Oh wow! So you have an exclusive even for them. So
exclusive. The magazine is cool.
That'll be our headline definitely as we post this. Let me ask you this real quick, because we live in an age where everything that is coming to us about fandom is social media and podcasts and YouTube and all those things. What possessed you guys to make it a print magazine? Why print only? Is there a digital version I don't know about?
No,
I did not think so.
I mean, we're not in the business of making promises, because who knows? Life is long and things may change. But we have no plan. I can honestly say we have no plan for any digital version of this. We have no plan for using, big features on social media or anything like that. You're gonna see glimpses, and man, people are already celebrating it on social media, so it's going to be out there.
Yeah.
But it is the I like Joe talks about this much more passionately than I do. But we wanted to make sure that everybody who interacts with the version we mean it to be. Joe, you're much more eloquent on this one.
Sure. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, there's multiple angles to it, right? Like, there are a lot of great websites, big fans of like, Sketch or whatever, but I love YouTube channels. I was very excited, by the way, to get on this one to talk about, the subject matter on here beyond our magazine. Um, but I do think people are very hungry for a centralized place to go, and it's like, I want to learn about comic books. So I log onto social media and there's a lot of stuff that is not comic books, right? So how do I find out about what's really cool in comics? It's been curated. These guys know what they're doing, and can talk about it with like some authority. We've all been in the business for a long time, and like I, for instance, with like the Absolute Batman article, there's stuff in there I have never seen online, and from in terms of like the responses, because we do talk to Scott Snyder and Nick Dragotta, but we also talk to Frank Martin, the colorist, Clayton Cowles, the letterer. We talked with Katie Kubert, the editor, and Chris Conroy, the executive editor. And again, there's stuff in there I've never seen anywhere else. And I think people are really, I'm very busy and I have all these inputs. So here's one thing I can get, and it's got everything I need. And I can read this anytime at my leisure. And, it's got it. So we have articles, we have stuff you can't really do as well digitally, or it feels like more ephemeral if you do it digitally. Like we have new Chew comics, we've got an art instruction thing. I think people are very hungry for that. And again, like 100,000 strong in terms of pre-orders. Like I think people have responded in kind. So again, no one's against digital. I like digital. I had a very large comicsology library myself. And I'm a big fan of comics YouTube, especially like y'all and Cartoonist Kayfabe and all that sort of in that orbit. So but there's a missing component to all that, and that's this magazine.
Yeah, I think question asked, question answered, right? Like, you have all of this stuff out there. It's available to you constantly, and separating signal from noise is really important right now. And all of our data, all of the data that's available to anybody, tells us that this new generation of people that are walking into comic shops are walking into comic shops because they want comics in their hands. They want something in their hands to read. And first of all, it makes my heart leap, the idea that kids that are 20 years younger than me and more, and even younger than that, are walking into comic shops wanting comic books. That's like, 10 years ago when I started in the industry, 11 years ago, and I'm sure even further back than that, all I heard every week was floppies are dead. They'll be gone in a year. They're not gonna. It's not gonna last. Like DC is gonna fold and send their licenses to other companies, and that's been something I've been hearing literally since the day I stepped foot in the industry. And these guys probably too, because they've been in it longer than me. But the idea that we can create something like this and excite who I believe are the alpha fans in comic shop owners, to the extent that they said, yeah, we're going to put our money where our mouth is, to the tune of 100,000, tells me that the fans are going to react in kind. And I can only cross my fingers. We've got a couple of days left before we find out for sure. But I'm just ecstatic about it. It's the it's the first thing that I've been successful at in the comic industry, if you want to break it down. But it's also just the idea of physical media forever, by the way, making a resurgence, and us being a big part of that in a comic shop now is, God, it excites me to no end.
Yeah, dude, I was on a panel at San Diego Comic-Con in 2008 called The Future of the Pamphlet, and I was the one guy, and you can go Google search this on there. I was the one guy in 2008 who was on the everyone's like, floppies are dead, no one wants to talk about digital 5 years. And I was like, I think this stuff is inherent to comics. People want, like, again, I love digital. I'm not scared of the future. I think it's great. I don't think the future is entirely digital. And like, I just think like double page spreads read better in a single issue thing. And I think double page spreads in a like, again, I was talking earlier, this Battle Beast opening spread, you can't really do that digitally. It looks really cool. And the way Rico, there's a secret article in #2 as well. And the way Rico laid that out, it's just like, it just looks inherently cool in print, you know? So yeah, I don't know. Comics are tough. People always underestimate them.
Also, I
Not
want
going
to take a
anywhere.
moment. We're talking about comics being inherently print, and there is a lot of that. But let's talk about what it is a magazine, right? Because
Correct.
the
Yeah.
magazine itself has gone out of the zeitgeist. Really, I mean, we're having to explain to people the functions of a magazine. Like, here's what a
Yeah.
letters column does. Here's what classified ads do. Here's like
Yeah.
we have these things that were like, for those of us that are Gen X, like this was a big part of our lives growing up. So the idea that we're having to teach these people this is everyone. This is odd, but let's talk about why. Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
classifieds. Let's talk about why. When you are on your phone, there is so much. It's not just a mile wide and an inch deep. It's like an astronomical unit and an inch deep. Like you cannot consume all of it. And so as a result, you don't dig deep on anything. I don't know about you, but I like if I try and read an article, I'm getting pulled away. But I sit down with a magazine to read an article, I'll read 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 words, no problem at all, because my attention is on this item in my hands, right?
Yeah.
And that's the magic of print, is that it pulls you in and makes you present. And that's why I think comics is always going to be in print, and that's why the magazine works so well.
I mean, like see, talking about like Wizard. Let's look back. I've got a huge Wizard collection. You know what I mean? And there's a magic in there of like flipping through a random issue of the historical archive, find like, oh, here's Brian Polito talking about how he created Chaos Comics from like a publishing perspective. You know what I mean? Or here's Stephen Platt talking about profit. And it's like, could I Google that? Yeah. Is it fun? No. I want to like dig through my archives, Anyway.
Yeah.
And that's not
Uh,
nostalgia. I think it's something inherent to it. And that, like, I think I forget who named it. Adam, Gabe, somebody, Rico, maybe. Like, this is trying to be like the magazine of record.
yeah.
So this moment
and
in
that's a very
time,
different
you
thing.
guys are going to be that source that people can look back to and say that here's what was going on. Here's the concentrated version, 100% snark free, as we've been promised. So there it is, right there. But
Negative snark, positive snark, maybe.
having a little fun. Yeah.
I just think cynicism is the most boring thing you can do. And so yeah, it's not in here.
Adam, I hope you weren't hoping to get a word in edgewise, because we're
I
all
know, right?
guys.
You're
at
making
heart.
it easy
I
on
know.
me. I don't mind. I do want to ask this real quick because Joe indicated that he wants to get into just a little bit of what our show is about. And I just want to ask you guys, we've talked about how this is going to be different from Wizard, but certainly serving the audience now that loved Wizard then and the newer audience that didn't get to experience a magazine, like you say, a central location to get this information and we get it all pulled together. So I'm just curious for you guys, what was your favorite part of Wizard magazine, or what was the essence of Wizard that you hoped maybe to infuse a little bit into your magazine?
This is the one where everybody's going to groan. The first meeting that we ever had as a team about Comics the Magazine, I jumped up on a soapbox, as I am often prone to do. And I said, if we're going to do this, we have to have a price guide. And let me explain why. All of them kind of groaned. They're like, yeah, it doesn't mean anything today. And I said, yeah, but when I was 10 years old, I didn't have a comic shop in my tiny little hometown in Indiana. We had an IGA, a grocery store that had a newsstand, and Wizard was on the newsstand. And these guys have heard this anecdote 1,000 times on 1,000 calls, so I apologize, but I think it resonates. I went in one day and I got my copy of Super Pro, and I got Ren and Stimpy #1, and in that poly bag was a air freshener, and I got 2 of them because I thought for some reason my little tiny collector brain thought, Mel, this might be worth something. I don't know, because the price guide's inside. And lo and behold, I got my Wizard magazine for the week. It was the comic worth the most that week. And I thought I had died and gone to heaven. I had this old Reuniti wine box that my parents had gotten for Christmas one year. And that's where I kept all of my comic books, was in this old with the latches, and it's big, and I stuck those, and they must have sat in that wine box for 10 or 12 or 14 years until I moved out of the house for college. And I had forgotten about them, and they were worth absolutely nothing. But I tell you this, the memory of that and the warmth that I get when I think about it, it made me really push hard on these guys to get a price guide included. And so many people have responded to it in terms of knowing that there's something in there. It's going to be a work in progress until we find exactly what makes sense in 2026 for a price guide. But that's what I'm most excited about, and I think that's the some of the connective tissue that we all have inside this thing.
Yeah, that's wonderful. There are different elements to the fandom, right? There are people who are collectors. They buy it for the cover, they buy it for the potential value, whatever it is. And there are the people that are in it for the storytelling. There are like there's so many different elements. So yeah, certainly like that is going to get some people really just like focused in. Oh, there's a price guide. I can value my collection each month. Ooh, this is so fun, man. What about for the rest of you guys?
Well, I don't want to discount Wizard or anything like that, but because obviously we love it and it's a big thing for me. But I will say like and actually one of my favorite articles in the whole magazine is Jim Rugg from Cartoons Kayfabe actually did a whole article about like the history of magazines and comics, and there's a little bit of everything that leads up to us, and that like going back from Comics Buyer's Guide and Comic Reader and Alter Ego and like Comic Scene was a big one too, like. I want to be very clear. Like we love Wizard, it really was a major player, but like we're not trying to do Wizard 2.
Right.
This is something new and different and exciting and interesting. And yes, there are elements that certainly have carried on in Wizard, but also like there was an Overstreet before that. Like it's been there's a history here, a longer history here. So, but to answer the question, like what about like what I love about Wizard was kind of similar to what Gabe was saying. Like I was a kid, I didn't have money to buy everything. And there was all these comics that like beyond the Marvel, DC, Image, Valiant, etc. of it, like weird ads for independent comics I don't think ever came out. Like I was saying, I'm a huge fan of certain comics I've never read just because there were in Wizard. Like there's some like evil Spider-Man comic called Arachnus or something like that. I've never seen it in person, but I've seen the ads a million times and it's very compelling and exciting. And so it was like, here's this whole world of comics and you're part of it. I mean, arguably that's existed like in Foom and everything like long before Wizard. But that to me is the really important element of this is like you are part of this larger whole of comics and there's always infinitely more to discover.
So. And I think that actually leads into my answer to this, which actually kind of combines the two of them. I think when I look back on the legacy of what Wizard built, at its best, Wizard gave value to not only the comics, right? And not only, the literal dollar value, but like the metaphorical value, the even spiritual value of the comics, but also value to the community that loved comics, right? It built up these creators that were absolutely deserving of being built, and they like made them superstars. Wizard made stars. I don't know that we'll be able to do that, but man, we're gonna celebrate the hell out of the people that we love, right? But it like legitimized loving comics, and it was a celebration of those comics. And like I said, I have plenty that I could poke at those Wizards for, but I'm looking at them in a 2026 lens, right? It was a very different lens than when I was reading them in the 90s. So I will say that if we can get a piece of that, if we can be that thing that gives comics and people who love comics and people who create comics and people who sell them and every single one of them that are out there every day saving comics, if we can do that, then I think we have lived up to the legacy that we're hoping to aspire to.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that is the exciting thing about it, right? A website can disappear, a blog could go away, you can read it for years and years, and now it's gone. Maybe find it on the Wayback Machine if you're lucky, but now people will have this physical thing they can refer to for years to come. What was going on in 2026? What were comics all about? Oh, there it is, right there. It's a beautiful thing.
If all of us die in a plane crash on the way to San Diego Comic-Con, there's 100,000 of these out there, and they're going to be found in long boxes at flea markets until 21, 26 at least.
Yeah.
Very
Now,
true.
as you're getting ready for the reactions, from the public at large and everything, what has been for you probably the most exciting part of the process? You each have your role to play in bringing it, to fruition. But like as you think back on, wow, the process of number one coming out, what was getting me jazzed every single day to keep it going, even when there were challenges or anything like that?
I love the process of publishing. I love all the pieces of it, including all of getting to know how the printing equipment works and how metadata works. That kind of stuff, that's what gets me excited. So that's part of why I get the role that I have. It's just that I'm curious enough about those things that I know how at least enough of them work that we can do a competent job. So being this close to something, actually, let me show you something really cool.
Ooh.
This, I don't know if you can hear, of course you can hear this. It sounds like thunder. This is the metal plate of one of the 4 colors of the issue 1 that they use on the printer. How cool is that? Seriously.
That is amazing. Wow.
And so that part I think has probably been the most exciting for me. I mean, don't get me wrong, there was that day that I woke up and saw that number and went, what are we going to do now? Because we had no idea we're going to get even close to that number. And excitement, it can be good and bad. And I will tell you today, when I opened up the email and I saw the printer invoice, that was exciting. I was excited. My heart was racing.
It's a thrill a minute around here.
Yeah, that.
Yeah. I will say that kind of gets in line with my answer too, which is, Adam and I have been working on a different project together, actually Rekka Comics, the future is. We've been doing that for a little over almost a year and a half. Anyway, it's been a while. Close to 2 years. Anyway, we both have a love, I would say, of, this is my words, not Adam's, like bringing silly goose energy to how do we promote comics and how do we do this? And a lot of I don't think this idea is going to make a lot of money, but it'll be pretty wild. And I think people are going to go crazy for it. You know what I mean? And so it's just we have this opportunity to put a lot of fun in how people, I'm not going to go on a large rant. I could. I'll spare it. Podcast. I love again, positivity. But there was an energy to conversations around comics that I'm not as big a fan of. But now we're just here's a centralized place where it's riot, and you're invited, and you're in on it, and whoever my barrier to entry on this, well, it's $2.99, but it's also do you like comics? Okay, you're in. The end. That's it. That's all I needed. That's all we need to know. And we want to make it as fun as humanly possible. We've got some stuff set up. Gabe, do not say anything.
Can you tell which one of us had to sign the NDA first?
One of us had to sign it twice. All right, be reminded.
Yeah. But anyway, that I think is really unexpected. And again, you can really only do with print. And that is so exciting to me. Is what can we get away with to make this as fun as possible? I don't know. How about deciding to print it at 48 pages at the last minute instead of 32?
Ooh.
For number one. But it was cool.
It was cool. And that came from the fact that we just got so much cool stuff. We got that amazing Jim Rugg piece, and do we break that over 2 issues? No. Do we then we got all this incredible Batman, absolute Batman stuff, including that piece on absolute Catwoman. Well, it's a spoiler.
Whatever. We can spoil that one. Yeah.
That's
wow.
And so those pieces when it came in there, oh, you know what? We have to.
We got to do it.
We got to do it. We got to figure this out, and we're figuring it out. It's working so far.
Yeah,
I'm
but
a guy
it is
who
though,
writes the check, so I got.
We just did the Comics Pro event.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
People there, it's a professional event. Comic book stores, people who make comics. There's not a public facing. It's a B2B conference, right? Everyone we talked to, and maybe there was some secret conversations going behind our back. I have not heard about them. I usually do. Where everyone was stoked on it, universally. Even people I know who are very openly critical on things were very much this is awesome. You guys figure out anyway.
Well,
I don't know.
you put a copy of issue 1 in the hands of Jim Lee, so I mean, there you go, right
All right,
there.
talk about silly goose energy. I gotta give credit. So we've got an inside man on this one. Our social media guy is Blake Morgan from Blake's Buzz. That dude was like, "Hey man, can I have a stack of those to hand out to people?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." I assumed like, whenever people pass by when he was working the audio because he was working the AV for Comics Pro,
Oh,
he got that in the hands of Jim Lee.
He was
He was working the floor.
he was working. He was working.
Yeah,
Oh man, I love that kid. He is
yeah,
just his excitement for this was just so. I mean, it's hard. It's one of those things that how you know you're on the right path, right? When
yeah.
someone who loves comics as so deeply as Blake does, it was just excited for everything we've done. It tells me we're on the right path. We're making this happen.
Well, it's the craziest thing in regard to Blake, and I think it tells a cool story. But Adam's been to almost every single comics pro there's ever been. Um, I've been to 9 or 10 of them, and they are a grind. I mean, you are there. You are there to exert all of your energy for one purpose, and to network and to give energy from yourself to others, and take all of everybody else's bad energy and eat it and swallow it and deal with it. um, and that's what happens over 5 or 6 days. And by the end of it, you feel like you've run 6 straight marathons, right? And our last week, our recovery week, it was perfectly evident. But I'll tell you this: every day, seeing, because this was Blake's first Comics Pro, seeing the joy on that guy's face every day and the excitement and energy that he was producing because he was in the room where it happens, to coin a phrase, it was absolutely life-giving. And I think it inspired at least Adam and I, Joe and I haven't talked about it, but I'm sure him as well, to bust our, can I curse? Bust our ass every single day that we were there to make sure that this thing got far and wide and we spread the gospel. So it was the most energizing thing of the week.
Can we take it just a moment? I know that, again, Adam, I hope you didn't hope to get a word in edgewise, because we will talk, maybe. Since we're talking about Blake, I want to talk about the other people in the masthead really quickly, because at some point you're going to have to interview them, because you're going to do a whole podcast series about Comics the Magazine. Of course. Yeah. So, okay, let's run it down. Rico Renzi, we already talked about him. One of the greatest designers alive. Seriously. We had a short list of who could we get, and Rico said yes, and that was when the magazine came together. Megan Marsden, by the way, keeps us on track. She is our director of operations, and I swear to God, my day, nothing I do would have gotten done without Megan. She is just a superstar, and legitimately is the reason that there is a magazine. She worked with me on ZCN, which was Chip Zdarsky's magazine, and that's part of how we knew we could build this thing. And she just, it was the only reason that ever came out, right, was because of how good Megan was at that. I'm not gonna talk about these guys. They're awesome, but I might do it later in the pod. Brian Garside, who is owns Managed Comics, is a POS system for comic shops, runs comics previews, which, by the way, if you have not looked at it, is going to be your online resource for what comics are in the catalog, right? I did a quick search this morning because we had a book coming out and I couldn't remember what the on sale date was, and I thought I could go into my internal docs, or I'm just going to look and see who's got what on their sites. I went through all of the database sites. I won't say them all out loud, but I will tell you, Comic Previews was the only one that answered my question. So it is brand new, but it is awesome. And he's also works with us on Comic Industry Insiders Live. Brian's amazing. We also, as I said, Travis Escoflari, he is incredible. We've got Keith Davidson, who is talking to retailers every day. It's just like we have a phenomenal team, and that's the only reason this thing came together.
Well, you love to hear it. And again, like the passion obviously is coming through. And that's probably going to be the biggest selling point, right? Is we know that it's from people who care. This isn't, some sort of cash grab. Again, like, it'd be a lot of work and hoping that,
I'm definitely not cashing, grabbing cash yet.
Yeah,
Let me tell you that.
I wouldn't imagine at this point, but it's one of those things that I think is really, it is going to connect physically as we hold it and emotionally as we feel that energy through the pages from each of you guys. And so I guess my question here is going forward, and people want to get on board with Comics the Magazine. They want to make sure that they can get their copy. What's the best way for them to be in touch with you guys, and also just to make sure that they have it in their hands each month?
I can do this one. All right. So, Comics the Magazine, except for issue 1, is going to land on the first week of every month in your local comic shop. I will tell you, I think we might even be announcing, I don't know if we've made this announcement in public yet. Every comic shop that is covered by Lunar Distribution, which is really all of them at this point, every single one of them is going to get at least one copy, whether they ordered it or not. Everybody is getting Comics the Magazine next week on March 11th. Then after that, it'll be the first week of every month that it'll be on your comic shop shelves. There are some shops that are selling them. There are some shops that are giving them away. I'm saying if you're in a town where maybe you have options and one of them is giving it away, that might be the reason why you shop there. I'm not saying why, but you know what though? Retailers make your money. Go ahead, sell it. Whatever. It's $2.99. What's your problem? It's $3. Give it up. You're gonna get a lot more than $3 worth. If you want to interact with us, comicsthemagazine.com is really their best bet, and you can sign up for a newsletter. We really only sent out 1 or 2 alerts on this, so it's not going to fill your inbox, but it is a great way for us to interact with you directly. If you are, most significantly, if you are interested in writing us a letter for the letters column that will happen in our, if we're talking about one of my favorite feature of Wizard the Magazine it was that letters column with the answers by Jim McLaughlin. Absolutely stunning. Every single time I loved it. Anyway, so letters at Comics the Magazine. Couldn't be easier. And and I know Gabe showed this earlier, but I really believe that our classified ads section is what the internet should be. Right? If you have a message that you want to get out there that is worth it to you to spend $20-$25 to get it out, if $1 a word is worth it for you, then it's worth for us to read it, right? And it's where our community should be coming together, both to support the magazine, but also to connect with each other. And so we talk about silly goose energy. I really think there's a potential for a lot of silly goose energy in the classifieds, and I want the community to bring that as well. So
that's great. I love that element of it. I should say, Wizards, the podcast guide to comics, we are a part of the first issue. We are advertisers there because we want to support this. We want to see it moving forward. So definitely, you'll get a little glimpse of us there as well. And for those who didn't know about us, hopefully they find us. But there we go. Oh, there it is. It's a beautiful thing. Oh, so here it is. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you just for doing this. I mean, so you're going to hear that from fans going forward. I'm sure that's going to be the beginning of every letter you get. Thank you for bringing this back and giving me something to read each month and look forward to. So I'm so glad and congratulations to you guys for getting it this far and having it be such a success.
Can I tell you, we at Comics Pro, there was a lot of people who were very, very positive, but one of my favorite moments was actually at the end. We went to the Jack Kirby Museum exhibit at the Skirball, and we ran into Brian K. Vaughan and showed him the magazine, and his first words were, "Oh, thank God." The idea that I'm ever going to make something that Brian K. Vaughan says, "Oh, thank God" about, I could be done. I'm all done.
Well, that is fantastic. So everybody make sure that you're getting out there, you're getting connected. Make sure you tell your local shop Comics the Magazine is for you, and we'll continue to watch it grow. We will look forward to issue 2. Joe has been teasing us of all the awesomeness inside. We'll definitely have to talk more. So
absolutely, Adam. This was a pleasure. Thank you, buddy.